Hey everyone, this is Anne from Let's Get Naked. We're going to be debuting mini episodes that talk about topics that might be of interest in a very down and dirty type format so that it isn't a whole guest and an hour long. It could just be certain topics that are on my mind or that people bring up or suggest to me. So we're going to try that, run through it, and see how that goes. So this is the first one. Show some grace as I navigate being able to talk about whatever the topics are that come up. So the first one that we want to talk about is just getting curious about your triggers. I think that triggers in general have turned into something that everyone is trying to avoid, where they say, oh, that triggers me, and then that's supposed to somehow indicate to the other person in the conversation or in the situation to discontinue, to stop. I would encourage you to use them completely opposite from that. I think that this life that we are living is a classroom. I feel like the triggers are literally your assignments. When something makes you feel a certain type of way, rather than reacting from a place of defensiveness, I think that you were supposed to get curious about why that makes you feel a certain type of way and what can be done to fix that, rather than just pushing it down and moving forward. I think as we continue to build this scaffolding of triggers around our lives, it makes us less able to connect with other people. It is literally the walls of a cage that we're building around ourselves. And it's unfortunate that we do that. I don't think we're meant to isolate and not have deep connections with people. But if no one can bring anything up because, God forbid, it triggers something, and people aren't in tune enough with their emotions to be able to kind of realize that, and then they come back from a defensive place, that alone causes an obscene amount of headache and drama and suffering for yourself. So if you're able to be in an interaction with someone where they say or do something and it triggers you, rather than coming from a place of reaction and defensiveness, get curious for a second, count to 10, think about, why did that make me feel that certain type of way? If you're in a situation where you don't have the opportunity to be able to stop what you're doing and get curious about it, put it in the notes app of your phone or send yourself an email so that you don't forget later to kind of unpack why that triggered something in you, whether it's something that is a topic, something that you viewed. Don't react to that. Count to 10, respond, even if what that looks like is, I'm not in a position to be able to speak about this right now, but be calm. Come from a place where you don't just go from 0 to 100 because you reacted to something. Like, we can handle life. We can handle a lot of stuff if you realize that you have control over, what your reaction is and what that response that you're putting out there brings back to you, whether it's drama or other things. You'd realize that you cause most of your own suffering. So what I'm encouraging you to do is view your triggers as assignments, view life as a classroom. When you're able to do that and really be able to take that almost like a game a little bit, right? Because everyone takes life so seriously, and I just don't think it needs to be that. Take that for the game that it is, of like, let me get curious about myself. What did that look like? So say you're in a situation, something triggers you. You're not in a position to be able to really unpack it at that point. Figure out a way that is authentic to you to be able to respond rather than react, even if that looks like, I'm not in a position to be able to talk about that right now, but thank you. Or, just have some sort of reaction or response that doesn't feed into the trigger, I guess. And then go back later, and maybe it's go for a walk and think about whatever it was that sparked something in you or that triggered something in you. I highly encourage people to journal about things that come up for them. Maybe it will take a little bit longer of a time at the beginning to figure out where those triggers come from. But as you're able to pull those things out, evaluate, really, unpack where that trigger stemmed from, and then be able to fix that, it just makes you lighter. It makes you be able to handle things differently. And at first, when you start doing that work, it does take longer, but it's just like it's a muscle. So as you're doing it more regularly, you're able to kind of flex that muscle, and you'll find that it happens faster and faster, that you can recognize the triggers, do the homework, or to figure out kind of where they came from and what needs to be done to be able to fix that. And that could look like a lot of different things when you figure out where it came from and what needs to be fixed. But for me, I always say with triggers, people continue to just kind of mow those weeds. And if you're able to figure out where that trigger came from and pull that weed, it just makes everything in your life flow so much more smoothly. So that would be my encouragement and my suggestion for this mini episode. Thanks for listening.